BMG Radio. Skyscrapers are falling edition. Yeah. This week we're looking at Skyscraper. We're looking at the best film year of all time and some other stuff too. Yeah, let's see what it's all about. Brought to you by the Bearded Movie Guy.
Hi, I'm the Bearded Movie Guy, and this week on BMG Radio, let's just get into it. Skyscraper. That's what we're going to talk about off top. Skyscraper, movie starring The Rock, and it is not done well at the box office. It went from third place the opening weekend to sixth place the second weekend, and it's probably not going to make back its budget domestically, and I'm not sure totally why. Let me get into this. I saw trailers for this, and I think they gave away too much in the trailers. Way too much. They told you kind of the whole story. Not exactly, but they told you enough that I think it made people go, oh, it's Die Hard, or oh, it's Terror in the Inferno. And they just didn't want to go see it. And I'm not sure, like, The Rock had a couple bombs last year. He had Baywatch, didn't do well. And Rampage didn't make back its budget domestically. It did fine worldwide, because, you know, China loves monsters. But it didn't do well here, and it was a fun film, but Skyscraper is actually a decent movie. Now, I'll just get into it. I got to see it for work on Thursday of last week, I got to see the whole thing, which I don't always do, but I saw that for work, and then on Friday night, we decided to go see a movie, and there's a new theater where I live that's all the reclining chairs, and you can use the buttons to push them and recline them, which my daughters loved, and we decided to go see Skyscraper because I wanted to see it again. It was that good, and I thought my family would like it, which they did. And it also wasn't in 3D, which I hate 3D, so it worked all the way around. Yeah, this movie is actually really decent. I'm not saying it's great and going to win any awards in any sense. It's not. And it's like some of it is underwhelming. Like the villain is a little underwhelming, and you know, the plot is a little derivative, whatever that means, but, you know, it's still a pretty good action movie, and it actually has a better plot than what the trailer gives it credit for. The Rock is good. I think the fact that he's getting older, the fact that they made his character an amputee, he's losing. Yeah, he isn't losing. He has no leg from the knee down on his one leg, and that becomes part of the plot, and like plot device and all that kind of stuff. It's good. It's entertaining. The action is good. The Rock is The Rock. He's pretty freaking awesome in this. Even though I like the fact even though he's big and muscular, he didn't come off because partly of his age and partly because I guess like the way they were playing it, he's more of a family man. He's not a killing machine like he has been in some other things. But he did a really good job. He did a solid job with the action. And yeah, I'm not telling you this is the best film of the year. It's not. I am telling you, you're probably not going to see this in theaters if you haven't already. But when you get a chance to, check it out on demand, or check it out from your local library, or check it out when it comes on DVD, or definitely check it out if it's on Netflix or Amazon or any of those streaming services that you're already paying for anyways. This is a solid action movie. I actually really like it. I give it 3.5 beards out of 5. It's worth seeing. And there's a couple spots, man. There was one spot. The first time I saw this thing happen, it made my stomach drop. And then the second time I saw it, I knew it was coming, so my stomach didn't drop, but my hands hurt. Literally, watching it made my hands, like, tingle. I don't know. It's a pretty solid movie. So, yeah, Skyscraper. Check it out, or let me know. Let me know if you have seen it. Because not many people have seen it. You can tell by the box office. And most of my friends who are movie guys haven't seen it. So, it's just, you should check this movie out. It's actually better than you're going to think it is. Or maybe it's not, but that's my opinion. Now, moving on to trailers. There's Comic-Con happened, if you don't know. Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con, one of the biggest Comic-Cons in the world, happened, and they dropped a lot of trailers. So I'll go over the main 4 or 5 really quickly, depending on which I remember. And this actually plays into, I actually got a couple questions this week, which I'm kind of answering throughout the thing. So the second question I got, but it's first in the order of how we're going to answer them. My buddy Joshua Armstrong, or Joshua Bear Armstrong, or however you want to say it. I just call him Bear. asked me about impressions for Shazam and Aquaman. So let's just go over the trailers quick. We got Shazam came out. Shazam is about a 14-year-old boy that can turn into a big superhero that's kind of like Superman. He's super powerful in the comics, and he acts like a 14-year-old boy because he is a 14-year-old boy. He just looks like a man. I really enjoyed this trailer. I'm a big fan of Zachary Levi from Chuck. And there's a lot of this was shot in Toronto, which is cool. I liked the trailer. I thought it looked fun. I think the demographic it's going for, I think like this is probably the closest Marvel type movie that DC might ever do. No, that I may be wrong, but it looks very, not that it's trying to copy Marvel, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying it's much more lighthearted because of the subject matter of a 14-year-old boy becoming a superhero and he looking like a man. Yeah, the trailer I thought was quick and fun, and it gives you a synopsis of what's coming, and doesn't give away too much, although it did give away some funny bits, which I'm sure like people are going to be like, oh, I hope all the funny bits weren't in the trailer, which I hope to. So Shazam, for a trailer, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5. I thought it was pretty darn good. Aquaman up next. Aquaman, I liked Aquaman in Justice League. I don't know what your feelings are with Justice League. I've always liked Jason Momoa ever since I knew who he was in Game of Thrones, and someone said I looked a bit like him because my hair was down, and I was just like, oh, my wife has a thing for Jason Momoa, so it works well for me. Now that my hair's short, it doesn't work well anymore, but it doesn't matter. Jason Momoa, I like him. I think he's a really cool guy, and I think he's a decent actor, and I thought he was really good as Aquaman, and I'm glad to see that he is still being really good. I don't know, I like the Aquaman trailer a lot. I thought it gave a good, solid kind of intro to that world and showed you basically what you're kind of being looking for, and like some of my friends have compared it to Black Panther because it's like secret society, like, you know, and stuff. I'm okay with that. It doesn't bother me. But I think it looks really good, and I'm really interested to see. I'm especially interested to see how Black Manta, which if you don't know who Black Manta is, he's a guy that's a surface dweller that has a helmet that shoots beams out of it and stuff. He's a bad guy, usually. So I'm interested to see where he's going to play into the whole plot, which should be good. And yeah, it looks good. I'd give it 4.5 out of 5 for a trailer. I'm not saying the movie here. Again, this is just trailers. It made me interested in the film for sure. Next, we got the Godzilla trailer. There's a lot going on there. There's a really lot. It's kind of like, it looks like an overly packed film, but it made me want to see it. And Vera Farmiga's character in the trailer looks, which is the girl who's like, we need to find the Titans. She looks like a too easy villain. I don't know, but Millie Bobby Brown's in there, and she's a good actress. It looks like Sally Hawkins is in there, and she's a great actress. I don't know. Ken Watanabe's hopefully back, so it made me interested in seeing the movie. I already wanted to see the movie. Godzilla's awesome, so I've always been a fan of his. So, yeah, 4 to 5, I think I'd say, because it just looks really crowded. What else was there? I'm trying to... Battle Angel, or Alita Battle Angel, that looked really good. Much better than the first trailer. The effects look more finished, and the story looks interesting. So that I would give a 4 out of 5 to also. That definitely is catch my interest. Now, the trailer that interested me the most, that didn't look like the best trailer, but interested me more than any of the other trailers, technically, was Glass. Glass, I think, is a trailer, is 3.5 trailer. It's very ambiguous. It doesn't tell you enough. I think some trailers give you way too much. I don't think Glass gave us enough exactly of what kind of the movie's going to be about, but I guess it's just working on the fact that you already know the characters, so you're going to want to see the movie. It was my most intriguing trailer out of all of them, but it also was the weakest trailer out of all of them, so I'd give it like 3.5. And I think that's it. So those are my thoughts. Bear. There you go. I give them for all those movies. Next up, I usually take questions at the end, but I'm making this part of the segment because the question intrigued me. I guess there was a survey out a little while ago, or just recently, saying what was the best year for movies. Not that had the best movie of all time in it and stuff, but the amount of movies that came out that year that were awesome, or that have stood the test of time and stuff like that. And I believe the public picked 2014, which just shows they don't know anything. Even though there's some really good movies in 2014, but like best year of all time for film was 2014. Really? Okay. But I got asked this question by Brian Lomax from Brian Lomax Movie Talks. So I started going through. Now I can only attest that this is how we're going to do this. I'm only going on what I've seen from those years. So there might be movies like I've never seen Titanic and I don't want to, so I'm not going to count the year that came out as saying it's part of the thing. I can only go with what I've seen. So I'm not judging movies on, oh, that's the best year for movies because these movies that I've never seen came out. I can only go by what I've seen. And what I've seen a lot of films, don't get me wrong. I've seen a lot of movies. So I went through my whole list of years, which I've got a lot of on Letterboxd, and narrowed it down to 6. So I'm just going to go through the top 6 years of film very quickly. I'm not going to list every film. I'm just going to see some of the highlight films that was in that year, and that's why I put it in there. So number 6, we'll start at number 6, obviously, is 1957. In 1957, you had 12 Angry Men, Throne of Blood, Paths of Glory, Bridge on the River Kwai, Witness for the Prosecution, and Affair to Remember. There was a bunch of other films too, don't get me wrong, but those are the big notable ones that I remember from that year. Not that I was alive. So that's a pretty freaking solid year for film, but that's my number 6. Number 5, 1982. In 1982, we had The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, Blade Runner, E.T., Rambo First Blood, Gandhi, The Verdict, Poltergeist, and Tron. Like, that's a smattering of everything all over the place of awesome. So, yeah, that's a good year. But, again, not the best year. Okay, moving on. So that was number 5. Number 4 is 1968. 1968, we had 2001: A Space Odyssey, Once Upon a Time in the West, Night of the Living Dead, Bullet, Hang 'em High, and Where Eagles Dare. Those are all great movies, some better than others, don't get me wrong, but that's some phenomenal films in that year. Space Odyssey being a mind-blowing thing, and Once Upon a Time in the West being one of the best westerns ever made. Night of the Living Dead starting the zombie trend. Yeah, it's a very influential year. Came out of that year. But again, not my top. Okay, number 3, 1994. In 1994, there was The Shawshank Redemption, which I will straight up say I think is the best film of all time. Pulp Fiction, Forrest Gump, Lion King, Leon the Professional, Immortal Beloved, Speed, True Lies, The Ref, and Dumb and Dumber. Those are just a few from that year. So, Shawshank, Pulp Fiction, and Forrest Gump, plus Lion King, like it's a heavy-hitting year. But no, my number 2 was my cohort CP's best year in film. I believe he said it was, and it's a super heavy-hitting year. And in 1999, my number 2 is 1999, and that is the year of The Matrix, Fight Club, Iron Giant, The Sixth Sense, Green Mile, American Beauty, Toy Story 2, Magnolia, and Man on the Moon, just to mention a few. So that was a very big year for film. Very, very big, huge, influential year for film. And that could be my number one. That really could. But this other one just keeps on smacking me in the face, going, nope, just a tad better. And you can fight me on this, and I if you said it was any of the other years, you could make arguments. But for me, to answer Brian Lomax's question as we ramble and get onto this, is the best year in film for me is 1954. What happened in 1954, you may say? Well, a little film called Godzilla was made, and then another little film called Seven Samurai was made. Yeah. But what was made? That was in Japan. What was made on the other side of the world? Well, Rear Window and Dial M for Murder from Hitchcock, Sabrina, White Christmas, and On the Waterfront all come from 1954. That is a phenomenal year for film. Godzilla and Seven Samurai by themselves, but Rear Window and Dial M for Murder are in probably easily my top 10 Hitchcock films of all time. And then Sabrina, which is a delightful movie with Bogart and Hepburn. And then White Christmas is a classic, and On the Waterfront. I'm not a huge fan of On the Waterfront, but I understand its significance. So, to answer your question, my friend Brian Lomax, 1954 is the best year in cinema history. 1999 is so close on by, like, it could overtake it hypothetically if it was any other day of the week. But today, I'm leaning towards 1954. So, there's my answer. Next up, we got Feeding My Addiction, which is where I talk about what I've bought lately. Now, I didn't buy much. I bought more in the last couple weeks than I have in the last couple months. But there's a thing called Amazon Prime, which, if you don't know, is when Amazon tries to trick you into buying stuff by lowering their prices and making it cheap. And they got me on a few things. So I'll start by saying, number one, I had a $15 Visa prepaid card that was left over from something, and so I only had $15. You can't use more than the $15, and it's very hard to get rid of $15 on a Visa prepaid card to find something that's exactly $15. So they, on Amazon Prime Day, they had Blade Runner 2049 for $12.99, which equals out to 14 something with tax, and that was, I wasn't wasting much money off this gift card. So I got that. So I didn't actually pay for that, but I did pay for that, if you know what I mean. So Blade Runner 2049, which I'm excited to see again. I haven't seen since the theater, but phenomenal film from last year. Brian Lomax's favorite film from last year. I also got, for $9.99, my favorite film of last year, what I think is the best movie last year, The Shape of Water. Guillermo del Toro's Shape of Water. Yeah, that was $9.99. And the only other thing I bought one other thing, which my daughter saw this movie in school this year, and it's on my list to buy, but as many of you will know, our lists to buy are massive, and although I own like over 1,200 movies, I have a ton more to buy that I don't have, and this was $9.99, and she loved it, and she saw it in school, and really wanted to show our family it, even though I've seen it. But for $9.99, I bought Dead Poets Society with Robin Williams. She saw it, I think, in a literature class, and yeah, so we'll be watching that soon, I guarantee you, because her pick's coming up. So yeah, Dead Poets Society, Shape of Water, and Blade Runner 2049. That's what I've been buying lately. I probably won't be buying anything soon unless I see something incredibly cheap, but that's this time. Last up, I'm going to Letterboxd. Or before questions, yeah, because I got one more question to answer, although I've answered 2 questions already in the process. But anyways, we're going to get to that. But Letterboxd first. I can't remember where I ended off last time, so I'm going to start with where I know I was close to. I think I finished on The Outlaw Josie Wales, is what I finished on last time. So let's assume I did, and we'll just go from there. I watched the Jim Jeffries comedy special on Netflix, This Is Me Now. Jim Jeffries, very fun man, funny man. Very dirty, very funny, has some good stories. I give it 4 out of 5. Check it out if you like his brand of humor, where he says the C word a lot. Next up on Blu-ray, I watched Contact with Jodie Foster. I think I might have already said this one last time. I'm not sure. But regardless, I watched that on the 15th of July. And it's a really solid sci-fi movie. I really enjoy it. I think it's probably one of the best things Jodie Foster has done in the last bunch of years. Like, it's 97, so it's like, I don't know if she's done anything better since then. Let me know if she has. I don't think she has. Yeah, I haven't seen. Oh, no. Hotel Artemis was good, but I think Contact was better. So yeah, I saw that, enjoyed it. Next up, I've watched a couple documentaries on Netflix while I was at work. Before the Flood with Leonardo DiCaprio talking about global warming and how we're all going to die. I have a close friend who is a global warmer conspiracy denier guy. He thinks it's not real. It's always fun. So that's actually a pretty solid film. He does a good job of not overstating facts, but I don't know, I thought it was pretty well put together. I give it 4 out of 5. Documentary styles, Leonardo DiCaprio. You see some behind the scenes stuff on The Revenant, which was interesting. Next up, I watched a thing called McLaren, which is all about the McLaren guy who was the racer who made race cars and raced and died. I didn't actually know like, I figured he died because I'm like, oh, they don't have any interviews from him now. I don't know the history of him at all. I just know McLaren. I've heard McLaren racing, but I didn't know he actually died. So I find that interesting. The movie itself was pretty good. It had a bunch of interviews and stuff that were by previous guys and a lot of footage from his time when he was a race car driver. So it was interesting and informative. Not something that's going to blow you away. I guess if you're a McLaren fan, it may be like, orgasmic, but for me it was just, oh, that was interesting. I'd give it 3.5. Worth a watch, especially if you like racing. And then I saw Skyscraper, which we already talked about. I give it 3.5 in case I didn't say it, but I think I already did. And then at work, I was killing time on the one day, and we watched The Equalizer, the original Equalizer, with, the original, not the original TV show, but Denzel 2014 Equalizer, which I think is a solid film. I like Antoine Fuqua as a director. I really do. I think he's a really good director. And Denzel is like, it's a slow-paced movie, but it's a really good movie. And the cast is actually really good. It's got a pretty diverse cast and stuff. So I kind of threw that on because someone wanted to watch it at work. So yeah, I give that four beards out of 5. And then I saw Skyscraper again. So, and that's all I've seen. I've actually been very busy and haven't actually watched that many movies. I was spending the weekend going to weddings and driving to Quebec and coming back, which took like 15, 16, 17 hours. So yeah, that's it. So last up, I'm going to Q&A. So I always will do a Q&A if I get Q's to A. So the Q I'm answering today, which is question, if you don't know what Q&A is, which is sad, is from my friend and guy who made many of my pictures, Marc-Eric Cagnon-Bardeux. He's French-speaking guy, one of my original OG guys. He asked me what I think about the fact that people are trash-talking the Titans trailer, and do I think it's trash-worthy. If you haven't seen, there's a trailer for Titans, which is a live-action Teen Titans TV show that is going to be played on the DC streaming service. So DC has basically decided to get in the streaming service thing. So it's Netflix DC kind of style. It looks like an interesting service. I would love to pay for it, depending on how much. Like I'd pay $8 for it a month. I won't pay more than that, I don't think. But they're going to have original content, such as the Teen Titans live action thing, and they're gonna have, you can look at old comic books, and they have all their animated TV shows and movies, which is like, I own many of them already and many of the TV shows. But if you don't, I think that's a pretty sweet thing if it's not too expensive. So how do I feel about this series? Because part of the thing is, if you watch the trailer for Titans, Robin is like, Teen Titans is all about like Robin, Cyborg. Cyborg is part of the team originally. I don't think he's going to be in this because they're going to keep it separate. But it looks like they got some other people. But the people I know who are in it for sure are Robin, Raven, Starfire, Beast Boy. I think Dove might be in it also, but I can't confirm that. I just saw one section of like what looked like could be Dove. I don't know. Could be someone else. And they're basically like the junior members of the Justice League almost, and so they formed this thing called Teen Titans. And they're giving it an edge for sure, because there's a scene in the trailer where these guys are in an alley doing bad stuff, and Robin comes down and someone goes, "Where's Batman?" And Robin kicks everyone's ass and then goes, "Fuck Batman!" And excuse my language, but that's what he says. And so it's trying to give it a much darker tone than, well, not the DC universe stuff, because that is a dark tone, but because it's a streaming service and it's not in theaters, they can say whatever they like, and they don't have to give any rating to it. So with that, do I think it's trash worthy? No, actually, it looks interesting. I'd like to see where they're going to take it. So I think it looks decent. I don't think it looks any worse than Arrow or Flash as TV shows. So yeah, My answer is I think it looks fine. I think it looks good. I would, if I get the service, I would be interested in watching the show and give it a chance. Like, I'd watch a season of it to see if it's any good. They have some other shows that sound interesting too. So, but yeah. So that's the only other question. So I got Brian Lomax's question, I got Bear's question, and this is the last one. So if you have any questions for me, please leave them in the comments. I would love that. Or you can hit me up on Twitter at Bearded Movie Guy, and you can hit me up on Facebook and other things, and Instagram. But I think Instagram, it's BMG Radio, I think, or something like that. But I rarely use Instagram. Yeah, terrible for that. Lastly, I'm just going to have a question of the week. And because of all the trailers that came out, I'm going to say, and this is in hopes to get interactivity, because no one ever comments, or very rarely comments, minus my boy Brian Lomax, who occasionally comments. Thank you, Brian. Yeah, what out of the trailers that dropped at Comic-Con, what is the one that interests you the most? What movie interests you the most? Out of those 5 major trailers, there are probably maybe some more trailers, but that's the ones I saw. So the 5 I mentioned. So Shazam, Aquaman, Godzilla, King of Monsters. What was the other 2? Alita, Battle Angel, and Glass. What movie from those trailers do you want to see the most? So, thanks. And that's it for this week. Thank you so much for listening, if you made it this far. And I really would appreciate if you watched this to this point. In the comments, literally just say, I watched it, and that way I knew you watched to this point. It'd be interesting to know who's watching these. I have no clue. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for listening to me ramble on about movies, which I love, and I'd love to be a part of the conversation with you. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay better. And as always, you're told 7.